Are you feeling allergic? Spring tends to be the worst season for allergy sufferers, but experts say here in Florida, that season tends to linger for about 10 months out of the year. In this morning's Wake Up Wellness, Dr. Christian Bankston, family physician with Baycare, says ragweed and pollen are big offenders. But during the fall, mold tends to be a large problem here.
Watery and itchy eyes, they'll get cold, runny, and itchy nose.
Nasal sprays, decongestion medications, and antihistamines can help. But here are some out of the medicine box options if your allergies feel out of control.
Keeping your humidity inside the home usually less than 50%. So with the use of humidifiers. When you go outside, you can wear a mask that helps reduce some of the pollen. That especially if you're working in a garden. Some of these HEPA filters, making sure your filters are being cleared out from your AC, or some people buy separate, HEPA filters that help clear out some of this pollen.
If you're not sure what the culprit is in your own case, you can talk to your doctor about testing for food and other allergens.
Man, you said it before the break. 10 months out of the year. Lucky us here in Florida, right?
You get little breaks, if you're sensitive to certain things, like the tree pollen, then
this guy knows all about it.
I mean, you really suffer in the spring, don't you?
I suffer all the bright side the whole time. Y'all hear me over here sneezing, coughing. The struggle is real.
Yeah. A lot of people, though, you may be extra sensitive, and then other times you might be, maybe just certain times of the year. Maybe it's grass, maybe it's pollen.
Right.
And this time of the year, talking
Apparently
about mold
yeah.
too, especially after a hurricane.
Yeah,
all the things that you have to deal with a hurricane, you're really not thinking about mold, but mold is a huge concern after hurricanes, from flooding and other types of events where there just might be an abundance of moisture. But in that 24 to 48 hour period after you deal with some water damage, that's when toxic black mold really begins to colonize. And if you don't properly dry out something that got wet during a weather event like a hurricane or just a flooding event, it might be too late. You can still try to clean it, but once that mold starts taking over, it can spread pretty quickly, even in times where you don't necessarily see it. But you might be able to smell it, so that's an indicator that you might have some mold damage and then become susceptible to some illnesses. But those with weakened immune systems really are most at risk for those mold concerns. Otherwise, though, we look at those more typical pollen situations where we really start to deal with those allergies. Trees are more so between December and May here in the Tampa Bay area. And this is all based upon some research that was done several years ago to look at the different pollen levels in those allergy seasons here across Tampa Bay. The grasses begin to ramp up through October, or rather April, and really last through October. So we're still seeing some grass allergies this time of the year, but the ragweed is what really spikes as we head through October and then into November, and then it begins to drop off on the back part of November into December, just to start it all up again as we head into the early part of the year. But two different pollen seasons here in Tampa Bay, one of which is your typical spring month. So if you're maybe not from Florida or from Tampa Bay, that's what you think about, but it's this time of year is our second difficult time for those pollen levels, and the allergies really start to ramp up. But fortunately, at least right now, all medium pollen counts through the rest of the week. Ragweed and grass and elm are the primary pollen particles that we're finding in the air right now.